Good afternoon from Tübingen and good morning to Ann Arbor and to those of you joining us from the United States. Welcome to the Spotlight Talk from Michigan to Baden-Württemberg, Democracy in Action, which is part of the German-American Institute's ongoing series, What Unites Us? Today, we bring that question to life through one of its most concrete and enduring examples. The Sister City Partnership between Ann Arbor and Tübingen, a bond now in its sixth decade, and what it tells us about the state of the transatlantic relationship today are some of the things that we're going to talk about today. I'm Katharina Luther, and I am the director of the German-American Institute here in Tübingen, and it's my pleasure to welcome you and to moderate today's conversation. And before we begin, I'd like to hand the floor briefly to Dr. Ute Bechdorf, the president of the Ann Arbor-Tübingen Association and the former director of the German-American Institute, who has a few opening words for us. Ute, please go ahead.
Yeah, just a few remarks. Hello, everybody. It's wonderful. And hello to Christopher Taylor. We saw each other in September, which was wonderful on the last trip. First of all, I would like to say thank you to the d.a.i for hosting this session. It's really important to see what's going on a people-to-people relationship because everything else is so complicated and challenging. Just briefly, I'm the head of the Association of Friends. We have 60 members now, 60 years. Sister City Partnerships is 60 members, and we do all kinds of activities like organizing trips to the US. The last one was with students. We like to welcome and greet people from Ann Arbor here, and we're also able to find hosts for you if you want to have a vacation in Ann Arbor. It's a wonderful place. And I can also tell you more about Michigan, but not now. The state is beautiful. It's worthwhile going there. But also, please, Ann Arborites, if you listen, do come over and we'll find hosts for you. We have a family and a couple coming in the summer in June. Okay, what else is going on? We will have a trip not to Ann Arbor this year, but to Berlin under the headline Americans in Berlin. So that's something the association will be organizing, and it's taking place. We have already 13 people in that group. So if you're interested, write to me. You can also look at the website starting tomorrow. It's not on it yet, but it will be there soon. And also the last thing I would like to mention, there will be a series of talks at the Studium Generale at the University of Tübingen every Wednesday starting in the semester. Our semester is starting next week. No, this week, actually. Yeah. So I know it's your last semester. It's our last week. Now it's our first week. And we'll have a series of talks about 250 years of United States. And on the 6th of May, a colleague and we will talk about activism and civil society, and we will include Theresa Reed from Washtenaw Democratic Party, the head of the party, and it will be very interesting discussion with somebody from LA as well about active people, activism at the moment in the United States. No kinks and all of that.
Thank you, Ute. People of Tübingen and people of Ann Arbor, you know what to do. And now let me introduce our main guest, Mayor Christopher Taylor of Ann Arbor, who has led the city since 2014, so for 12 years, and has long seen international partnerships as a living expression of local values. Mayor Taylor, Christopher, good morning and welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my delight to be here today.
Perfect. Well, then let's get started and let's look over to where you are right now. Let's go to Ann Arbor and let's start simple. What's the mood in Ann Arbor right now? What are people talking about, worried about, energized by?
Yeah. So, in Ann Arbor, it's a combination of things. It's spring, and so wherever you are, it's springtime. How bad can it be? We also, of course, exist in a cultural moment, and as folks online, probably know Ann Arbor is a heavily Democratic city, and so the nature of the current administration and the current tenors and threads of American life and political culture are difficult for folks in the city, and so that weighs on us. That of course is also tempered by some local excitement about the work that we're doing as a community. We just had our 200th anniversary back in 2024, and we're working hard to accomplish some of the goals we set for ourselves there, with respect to climate action and housing, and those help buoy people in our difficult cultural moment.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I want to actually follow up on what you call the difficult cultural moment,
yes.
right? And go from
by which I mean America, but go on.
go from Ann Arbor to Washington, D.C. and back if you want. So how is the current political climate in Washington, D.C. and that is created by the Trump administration actually felt at the local level? Maybe in your budget, your relationships with the state, your daily work as a mayor, really.
Yeah, so it hits different people in different ways, of course. From my perspective, the number one sort of leading cultural expression, political expression of the administration is with immigration enforcement, and with the unprofessional masked men in the streets, intentional spreading of fear and violence and chaos and uncertainty. I mean, this is part of the administration's agenda, their goal. And from my perspective, this goal is, it's for the purpose of delegitimizing Black and brown people in the country, for reserving what it means to be American to what they call heritage Americans. And that's what they call heritage Americans. They mean white citizens. And in Ann Arbor, that effort is anathema. We up and down the line, the entire community condemns that effort. We're a welcoming community. We know that we are stronger together, and we know that that all of us here have a part to play in our beautiful whole. And so we are working hard to counterbalance that. And that's sort of the main on the ground expression of the administration. As a municipal organization, we've lost funding with respect to climate action. Certainly, we have lost funding in other areas because of grants that have been pulled back. Housing vouchers, housing support for underprivileged folks is also both under threat and currently being diminished. Those are some of the expressions of federal policy that hit us on the operational level. It's discouraging, but we can only do what we can, and what we can is to continue to move forward.
Thank you. In continuing to move forward, is there anything that has been surprising to you? Something that you didn't expect to be a concern, or maybe a conversation that has shifted in tone recently or something?
Yeah, I guess as much like Tübingen, Ann Arbor is a university city, and the University of Michigan is our foundational institution. It's an amazing, globally recognized institution, research and learning and so forth, and such a force for good in our society and our local community. I guess the assault the assault on higher education and on freedom of expression and sort of like the concept of expertise. I think people could have seen it coming, and I think it was or sort of in the ether in the lead up to the 2024 election, but the full expression of the assault on higher education and on institutions of higher education, at least from my perspective, was unanticipated. And I think it's been difficult, of course, but it's also at the same time it bands you together. We recognize the good that we have in higher education and in academic freedom, in civil discourse, and we work hard to defend it when it's under threat.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Let's dive into this question or this momentum behind, the idea of what unites us, which is also the title of the series. And it's a real question right now, and not a rhetorical one. And I think your example of the threat on higher education is a perfect one that highlights that it is, a material concern.
Yes.
From where you sit, what does hold a community like Ann Arbor together when so much is pulling it in different directions?
Yeah. I mean, in Ann Arbor, like I think it's our value set. We recognize in the city that that we're all in it together. That we are a welcoming community. That's one of the beautiful things about being a university town. Like there's the ebb and the flow of students and research and learning and education and presentations and art and culture and entertainment and sports and all these things. Like we are a focal point of people coming and learning and expressing working with each other, and that that process helps develop a value set that emphasizes welcoming. It emphasizes togetherness and recognition that we all have something to offer. And I think that is what that helps unite folks in Ann Arbor, even in times when those expressions of welcoming are at risk and are more accurately perhaps under attack from the national government.
Yeah, maybe let's take this idea of values, right? And something like an expression of welcoming, the same or the other or anything and everything in between, and take it into something that is more structural, like local government.
Sure.
Right. And local government, I think, is an interesting moment because it is often where trust in institutions still exists, even when it's eroding elsewhere.
Yeah.
Can you feel that in Ann Arbor, or is that not a question? And if that is a question, how do you try to hold on to it?
Yeah. The part of the issues with respect to trust in government are they arise on the national level because people say they speak untruths and they are they're plain and obvious. When you speak when someone strives to speak something untrue on the local level, it's just so tangible. It's just so there, and so we build trust on the local level by working alongside people. When roads need to be fixed or redesigned, and we hold public meetings. People come to those public meetings. We talk about what our legal needs are with respect to a road design, what the engineering advises us with respect to the road design. The residents communicate back to us about their lived experience with respect to this road design, and we try to build something that meets all of those exigencies. Sometimes we succeed, sometimes we don't, and when we don't, we talk about why. And I think that participation in the process, that's super tangible. This person is in this room literally talking to me about what's going on, and I'm going to see them a week and a half later at some cafe with a baseball hat on, just drinking coffee. Like that kind of just tangible work togetherness of local government is, I think, the foundation of it all. And we're working hard by communicating with residents, by being transparent about what our structural limitations are, and by trying to meet people's needs where we can as we can.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you also for highlighting this idea of proximity and how important it is in trust building, right? You just mentioned communication, and I think that is, whenever, in good times, communication is also incredibly important, but especially in times of crisis, communication is fundamental. Can you maybe, especially as a mayor, share a best practice example or just an anecdote or something that touches upon the idea of communication as a tool and a value in bridging divides and uniting, if you want so.
Yeah, I mean, I think this gets to when we need to talk about the experience that that people have. I mean, I'll go to the to immigration enforcement. Like, we as a local government, we can't control immigration enforcement because of we are subordinate layer of government. The federal government can come in here and act within accordance with its rules and its powers, and we are not in a position, actually or legally, to stop them. At the same time, we have control over the work that we do. And so, the federal government, just like we can't stop them, they can't commandeer our resources. They can't order our resources to affect their goals. And so, we hear from residents that they want us to take action, right? They want to have somebody to hear what they want with respect to stopping this harmful and cruel immigration enforcement process. Someone stand up for them. Someone fight against this. And we can't in a complete way. It's out of our power. And so communicating that to residents, talking about clearly about what we can do, how we can do it, and what we can't do, and making sure that they understand that, speaking at it, talking from the council floor, talking with the press, talking with residents and groups. That's that's how we try to get to a place where folks understand the system in which they operate and which we operate, and we're all operating here together, and where they can help focus their advocacy downstream.
Thank you. Thank you. Before we go and, if you want, so bridge the transatlantic divide between the city of Ann Arbor and Tübingen, I do want to take a moment and ask you, for anyone who hasn't been to Ann Arbor yet, if you could characterize Ann Arbor for us, how does the city feel? I don't know, how does it smell? Anything that kind of brings us to where you are now.
Yeah, we don't have an Altstadt, I'll tell you that. So Ann Arbor is a walkable community. It's as far as American standards go, it's a relatively dense college town. And I guess if you haven't been to Ann Arbor and you visit Ann Arbor, I think what you'll see is a walkable community where the university is interwoven with the city. And that's, I think, one of the characteristics of our community that enlivens us all. In the United States, many campuses will be separate from the jurisdiction in which they operate. There will be a coherent campus area and a coherent city area. While there are here in Ann Arbor, for the most part, it's all intertwined. It's all bundled together. You don't quite know where the university begins and where the city begins. And with that, you see a vibrancy of commerce and young people, crucially, and that's a feeling that underlays the community, and I think underlays the visitor experience. So I'd encourage you to come anytime, but if you have to pick and choose, I'd say come during full session. The spring and summer are beautiful here, but we have fewer students, although they continue to be here. But when the students are here, it's a place of vibrancy and activity and young people craziness. It's just a great place to be.
Thank you, Christopher. I think that's, what you've just described is something that resonates with anyone and everyone who is living in Tübingen. And I can see Ute nodding. We have kind of bridged the sister cities of Ann Arbor and Tübingen, and the sister cities like Ann Arbor and Tübingen were built on the idea that people-to-people ties may and can outlast political turbulences.
Yes.
Do you believe that? And has there ever been anything, and I'm going to be, a little bit provocative right now, that has tested that belief recently, or is that belief incredibly steady for you?
That's a good question. Taking your last question first, I don't think it has in our particular context. If we were a different community, because, well, let me restate. The current administration in Trump 1 and Trump 2, it's typified by, in many respects, by a hostility to institutions of peace and cooperation. It's typified by a hostility to alliance and the concept of mutual gain, mutual benefit. It's acquisitive, a grasping institution, and grasping administration. And if Ann Arbor were aligned with the current administration, then I think that that there would be a fair bit of tension between Ann Arbor and sister cities on the outside, because we would be part of that rejecting mindset. But because Ann Arbor votes, just by way of numerosity, 80%, 78% Democratic, the rest Republican. So it's one can speak as a whole. Because we reject that mindset, the relationship with the targets of that mindset, I don't think are really put to this particular test. Mm-hmm. All that, so last question first. We haven't yet, because of that. At the same time, I think the concept of cooperation and learning and cross support is super real. And I do believe that the existence and strength of sister city relationships, it shrinks our vast world, and it helps people in each of the sister city communities have an understanding that there might be a different way of doing things. There are people who and who know you, who have some institutional affinity, some sort of connection, and it's a great opportunity for learning and experience and wonder. So I can't speak enough about the sister city concept, and more crucially, the particularities of the Ann Arbor Tübingen sister city relationship. It's been all those things and more.
Well, perfect. Let's go there then.
All right, we're there.
I remember that maybe 3 years ago, you actually visited Tübingen, right? And so maybe we can.
I did.
Maybe we can use, or maybe we can, make use of your personal experience. What does this partnership personally mean to you?
Yeah. So, as my personal experience, we visited Tübingen about 3 years ago, and it was an incredibly meaningful experience, for me personally, for my wife personally, and for me as a municipal leader. We so treasured, meeting folks, talking with people about their lives. And it was really heartfelt. It was just an amazing time. And as a municipal leader, I was amazed by so many different things that are happening in Tübingen. But with particularity, the cycling culture, the bike transportation culture, was something which just astounded and delighted me. I simply couldn't believe it. And you have winter, it's cold there too, and so I was inspired by it. Inspired for myself personally to cycle more in the city, and I have been doing that. I'm primarily a bike commuter at this point, and also to it gave me an opportunity to proselytize about this new way of doing things with people. I'm not a physically adventurous person. I haven't owned a bike. I didn't own a bike for 30 years until I visited Tübingen. It sort of opened my eyes to a new way of doing things for myself personally, and also as a municipal leader. We now have many miles more of protected bike lanes, which in the United States is a necessity because of the way that our streets are structured. And then we're having more every year, and so it's had a real intangible benefit. So thanks.
You're always welcome. Always welcome back to Tübingen.
It's a deal.
If you could send one message from Ann Arbor to the people of Tübingen today, as a mayor and as a person, what would it be?
I guess what I would say is, we in Ann Arbor, we love our relationship with Tübingen. One of the beautiful things about the sister city relationship is that we live in such dislocated times where we lack human connection. And one of the beautiful parts about the sister city relationship is that it provides a structure for human connection across the vast sea. And it's great knowing that there's a place where our home is known, Tübingen, and for your home is known here in Ann Arbor. And that idea, that reality of the sort of the latent pre-existing connection is it's great and beautiful, and it helps draw us together. So that's what I'd say.
Thank you. I think that's the perfect moment to, first of all, say thank you to you, Christopher Taylor, that you gifted us really your Tuesday morning in Ann Arbor to, really, lean into that people to people and human connection. Thank you so much, Christopher. Thank you so much, Ute. Yeah, thank you so much, Ute Bechtolf, for your support and for your greeting remarks and for your institutional work in keeping that relationship active and alive. Thank you so much to the City of Tübingen. Thank you so much to the University of Tübingen. Thank you so much to Kupferblau, our university's campus magazine. And thank you so much to everyone who is watching right now. Have a wonderful day and take care. Bye.